Welcome to No Small Roles. This is the show where I speak with fellow actors about their careers and about some of their smaller roles in big movies and TV, and how these roles are, in fact, not at all small for the actors who played them. Now, today's guest is my very good friend, Anna Rizzo. She's my self-taping guru. She reads 99.9% of my self-tapes with me, so thank you very much.
I love it.
You're crazy talented. You're so professional. You're humble. You're modest about the work you do. You're so kind and thoughtful and sensitive and a smarty pants. So thank you for doing this.
I'm going to take that little clip and just wake up to it each morning.
It's all honest. It's all true.
Be like, oh, I am. Yay.
You are all those things.
Thank you.
Of course. No, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Now, everybody, you know Anna from a whole lot of things, and there's a lot of indies on here too. So if you don't know these indies, pursue them because she's amazing in all of them. But here we go. She's from Future Justice, The Sins of Dracula, Accidental Incest. Okay, I'll continue. 7 Dorms of Death, Flesh for the Inferno, On the Seventh Date, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Strapped for Danger, Sundown, Castle Rock, The Wrong Todd, City on a Hill, Adult ADR, Law and Order SVU, everyone knows that, indie, Keeper, Dynasty, FBI Most Wanted, The Game, Law and Order, The Family's Feud, Salem's Lot, A Brooklyn Love Story, Shattered Ice, that sounds like a good film, and The Peppermint Twist. That is just to name a few, because you've done 8 bazillion projects. So I was like, I'm just going to choose a few. But holy cannoli. So yeah, you're kind of impressive.
Well, it's nice to hear it back, because I feel like I'm like most actors where I'm like, have I even done anything?
Well, I think these past couple of years have made everyone feel that way, no matter what. So before we kind of jump into your career, I know you've maybe watched 1 or 2, so you probably emotionally insulated yourself from the pain this usually causes the people I ask. But I need to know, would you eat a grilled cheese with or without tomato?
Here's the thing. I have a very decisive decision on this, because I have watched a lot of this and I have heard this question, and I disagree with a lot of people. I'm going to come out hard, no tomato.
Okay. All right.
I'm happy to dip it into a tomato soup, but I don't want a tomato in my grilled cheese.
All right. But have you tried it? Do you even know that's something you don't like? You're like, I just don't like it because I've just heard other people's opinions.
No, I have, and I'm just not a huge... I like tomatoes in things, but I'm not necessarily a fan of a warm tomato.
Okay. No, that's a good answer. Thank you for the clarity. And to all you other guests that I've had, thank you for being so vague.
Yeah. No, I was like, no. I feel strongly about this. I don't want it in.
Okay. And I'm glad it didn't, I'm glad you had insulated yourself too, so you're not too shaken up by that opening question. Now, on to the next part. So thank you for that answer. You went to college, university, you're from a smart family. There's a rock wall behind you, which says a lot about how durable you are. So why would you subject yourself to being an actor?
I mean, that is a question that I feel like I wrestle with constantly.
I think we all do, but yeah.
I mean, I started doing it super young, really, really young.
Theater?
Yeah, I started out with theater, probably in 1st grade. I don't think I started studying it until high school.
Okay.
So it's just kind of always been a part of me. And then I think there is something about storytelling as a way to, I just feel like we're in such a divisive world where everyone is so unable to hear one another.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. And it's just the ability for people to sit there and watch a movie or watch a show and connect with a character and feel something that someone else is feeling and take on the perspective of someone else, I think is such a gift.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've always, and I think there's other art forms you can do that with. but acting has always been my way kind of into that, acting and music.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because you're a singer. Do you also play you play piano too?
I play piano. I feel like I have to like contextualize that because I went to Berklee where people played piano, like they were.
Did you study it there, or you knew it already, or was that?
Yeah, I went as a vocal principal.
Okay.
I play piano and I took lessons as a kid. My dad plays piano, but he he was entirely self-taught. So like he kind of learned to play by ear.
Did he kind of get you into it? Seeing him play, you're like, oh, that looks kind of nice.
Yeah, I think we had like we had 2 pianos in my house growing up, and then we had like 5 keyboards.
Oh, wow. Okay. So your house, that's a big house, or unless you had no space.
It was a lot of music everywhere. So it was kind of
amazing.
just like part of the house.
And not to talk about your parents, but are your parents in the arts, or is that just more of a hobby? Like, oh, they enjoy it.
They're not in the arts at all. My dad, I think like had a high school band that he played in. In fact, he is like, was from New York and was coming up around the same time as Billy Joel did. And his high school band like played in a club. And then he said like Billy Joel, who was like a couple years older than them and like a little more established, like came in, like clearly had all the gear. Like, so like right away when he was setting up, they're like, oh, this guy's serious.
Oh, wow.
And then they saw him play and they were like, what are we even doing?
Oh my God, I could have seen your dad in Madison Square Garden.
But yeah, so I think it's always been like a side passion for them. And so they were very musical and artistic growing up, but they weren't necessarily like career focused in that.
But that was probably the foundation for your interest in maybe planting the seed in general of the arts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think it was just kind of like something you did.
Yeah.
And then I remember they kind of discovered I could sing. Like, essentially, like I had done like a musical at church where like they just kind of at a certain age they gave everyone a solo. Like it was just like, here's a couple lines to sing, and everyone just kind of like gave every single one. And then when I got up to sing, people were like, oh,
were you scared of this, or were you like, oh, that's what people?
No, I was just like, okay, like, and I didn't really think anything of it. But then they were like, oh, let's
got something.
Yeah. So then I think my parents were really like, okay, let's get you like doing voice lessons and training and all of that.
So they supported you pursuing the arts.
Yeah. I don't know why. In retrospect, I'm like, why would you?
That's great, because so many people are not. I mean, in my family, I think if I didn't do it at all, they would be like, get out of our family. Like,
yes.
You have to be in the arts in my family.
Yeah.
But so many families are like, that's a crazy choice. You should have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Which I get.
It's kind of like a weird like hodgepodge, because I don't think they would have been like, get out.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't like a family of like, we're artists, but I think there was always like a healthy enough appreciation that it wasn't like it wasn't a pushing against them to do it.
And they saw the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave you direction. So you went to Berklee to be a vocal principal, is what you said.
Yeah. So essentially the way that school works is like you have an instrument that is your focus.
Okay.
So like that's kind of your primary instrument. There's kind of core curriculum classes you have to take music wise. And then there are kind of core trainings that you do based on your instrument and all of that. So
did you enjoy your time there? Was that, I mean, it sounds like it would be a pretty big challenge, because that is the place people go to study music.
It was very intense. It's funny. When I watched the movie Whiplash, I'm like,
was it like that?
You know, it was funny, as I remember watching the movie Whiplash, and like J.K. Simmons' character was like, show up at 6 a.m. And I was like, all right, this isn't realistic. There's literally no music teacher that's showing up at 6 a.m. They would my teachers would roll in at a 9 a.m. class and be like, with like sunglasses on, a giant cup of coffee, and be like, why would you guys sign up for this class?
Well, they probably played gigs the night before.
Yes.
The teachers. Yeah.
So I'm like, no one's showing up at 6 a.m. And so then when no one's there, I'm like, okay, no, I'm back on board.
But the rest of it, was that realistic?
I mean, it's obviously dramatized, but it was very at least when I went.
Okay.
Which, like, I mean, different times.
Late 70s.
Yes. Early 1900s.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And then I kind of at the same time, not to be a bummer, but I had been assaulted like a week before I went to school. So it's kind of hard to parse out for me. Yeah. Sorry, super bummer.
Oh, geez, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was the kind of thing where it was like school was hard, and then I was very fragile.
Yeah.
So it, in a lot of ways, it saved me because I feel like it was like such a regimented thing. It was like you had to be like, all right, like you got to practice, you got to show up.
Your head as much as it could be out of that.
Yeah. So I think that was helpful in some ways and harmful in some.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. That whoever did that, I hate.
I think I do too.
Okay. We're on the same page. God.
Yeah, sorry to be a bummer. It's just kind of hard to talk about because it's so like enmeshed.
Sure. But that's what I want. I want people to talk about their lives and be honest and stuff. But yeah. Blah. Okay, so from there, actually, before we continue, because I do want to go from there into the next part. But before we continue, I need to ask you. We have this segment called the Kiss and Tell, which we'll talk about later on in the show, but I'd like to tease it with one word as to what your kiss and tell will be. Anna, do you have a word? I dropped my pen. Hold on.
Oh, no.
I got my pen.
Good. Okay. So my word is, I'm going to contextualize it. It's not going to be a gross story, but my word is tampon.
Tampon. Okay. So. Is that a music reference?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I mean, again, that's nature and normal anyway. If it were to be gross,
it'll be you'll see. It won't be horrifying. So
okay. Don't less gross than what. Before I should tell everyone this is so important. Before we started, right as I was about to hit record, my dog, who is almost 14 and she's an old lady, she we call her the gumball machine. She relieved herself on the couch, and I couldn't find it because she had buried it in. This is disgusting, but it still smells in here, but we're back on track. Thank you, Anna, for your patience. My dog is now lying down away from where that happened. And she's looking at me and she knows what I'm saying.
Like,
it's
why
okay.
Would you tell them?
She looks shamed. I love you, honey. You're a good girl. Okay.
You're okay, Gretel.
Okay. She's talking about tampons. Come on.
I know. Listen.
It was poo. Okay. Okay. So how do you go? So you do Berklee and you're focusing on singing. Were you thinking, oh, I did some theater growing up. I think I do want to focus more on the acting part of it. Were you thinking musical theater? How do you go from that to being the queen of indie films?
So I did miss it. I did really miss it. I happened to take like as many, the year I was there, Berklee started offering a minor in like drama, and I had already taken all the classes. So I just happened to so I did take some classes while I was there. It was limited, but what really kind of kicked it off, I had a friend that I grew up with in the town that I grew up with who was going to Northeastern. Her name is Tracy Kleeman.
Hi, Tracy.
Yeah, so she was doing she wanted to go into filmmaking, and she did like a thesis film for her in order to graduate. And I auditioned for it because she was like, "Hey, do you still act?"
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so, yeah, I did that, and I was like, I think I kind of like this.
You got the role.
Yeah. I mean, there was some nepotism involved.
Okay, whatever, but I'm sure you knocked it out of the park.
There was some Bedford, New Hampshire nepotism involved.
Oh, that's where you're from. Okay, I wasn't sure where okay. That's a nice town. Yeah, there's like some nice yellow old building there. I think it's a restaurant. I don't know.
Yes.
What was this film, if you can say, or if you remember?
I don't remember what the name was, but it was essentially about like a homeless girl.
Have I seen it?
Probably no. That I did do. I played multiple homeless girls.
Okay. I can
Yeah,
see
no,
why. No offense to homeless people.
yeah, yeah, I
Sorry, I threw you.
Anyway, sorry, that was a slow burn in my brain. Yeah, this one, I don't know that it ever came out like officially. I think I have like somewhere on like an old computer some footage from it. But
Yeah.
it was more just like the experience of taking, because I'd only ever done theater up until then.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, and what I really loved, like theater, because you're kind of like practicing and going through the whole thing. I really loved then filmmaking, kind of taking the same character, but like really kind of living with a moment and trying it different ways and fleshing it out in all these different ways. It just felt really experimental, which was awesome.
Did you, when doing it, were you like, oh, I prefer theater, or you like them in different ways? Did it open your mind up in a way like, oh, maybe this is the direction I want to go?
Yeah, I think it was some of that, and I think it was also like some trauma, because I think it, again, like not to make it a bummer, but it just
No,
kind of,
no,
I think
no.
it's so enmeshed with like poor little Anna starting out, is that I think my ability to, like when I was younger, I was like fearless about getting up on stage and performing in front of people.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't bother me. I didn't get nervous or like, and it just felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
And then the person who assaulted me, like there had been kind of like some stalking happening where like they had come to some of the performances
Oh
that I had
God.
done.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that really threw me, kind of this sense of like being out and not knowing who was watching
Of
you.
course.
So what it felt like was, it felt like film and filming something felt like a way to act where I was with a community of people that felt safe to me, that
Yeah.
then I was kind of in this contained space where we were like working and collaborating together. And it just felt like a way that I could access the same art, the same kind of foundation of that art form in a safer way.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because obviously it's so contained and off, and people don't see it till it's
Yeah.
seen or whatever. This is so, I don't know how I'm going to tell this story because it's so not similar, and your story, it sounds horribly tragic, but because I came from a family of theater people, and my mom was always directing plays, and my brother she was doing the Rocky Horror Show in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and my brother was playing Frankenfurter, and they're like, we need a Rocky. We can't find a Rocky. And they're like, Ian, you should be Rocky. I'm like, I have no muscles. And they built me some muscles. But like a year earlier, I was a very shy boy, but there was this girl I met, and she made me a man, and then we were supposed to meet up the next day, and she didn't show up, and I was sad, but I got drafted to be in this play, Rocky Horror, on the stage, front row, there she is, and I'm like, I have to sing a song, and I was just like, yeah,
Poor baby.
poor little me, but whatever. Yeah, I survived.
No,
And
but I think it's some of the thrill of live theater is this kind of like, but
yeah,
it also is like, sometimes there's like a sensitive artist in you that's like, oh, that's a lot.
I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there. And then that happened. I'm like, I want to be here even less.
Oh.
I think that's why I am just a film TV guy. But back to you, Anna. I'm gonna edit that out.
Don't edit out.
I won't edit that out. Woo! Okay, so you realized from doing that film, you're like, oh, this is maybe the place I want to be, given, your experience with this horrible person. Did you give up on theater at that point, or is this something you kind of dabbled in, but maybe away from your local in that area?
I have done it again. I think I did like a couple plays in like 2016. My partner, who's also been on the show, was.
Could I say the name?
You can.
Owen Burke.
Ah!
He was like my fourth episode. He was amazing. And
Yeah,
very much like you.
he had done some theater, and like he was kind of like dabbling in theater because he started off in film and then was like, oh, I should try theater.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of watching him doing it and being like, I miss it. So I did some very small theaters, and it was really nice. But I think I love how intimate film is. Like, I
Just
love
what I was
it.
thinking.
You can think a thought and the camera sees it. And there's something so cool about that.
It is amazing how it can come across. And having worked on many self-tapes with you, it's amazing how subtle you are and how powerful you can be in your performances and your preparation, and how you know how to work the camera subtly. It's so amazing to watch you work. I mean, actually, I want to jump in and show an indie clip of something. Let's see, what do I want to show? I don't want to show those yet. I'm going to show, should we go comedy or drama? Let's show you getting emotional.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
All right.
What did that? I mean, playing that must have gutted you. So this is a character with PTSD after a school
Yes.
shooting.
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, there's a heavy trauma theme to a lot of the roles that I got to play in my 20s, and it's not like, it's one of those where people are like, "Why are you always crying and things?" And I'm like, "Well, I had a lot to work out that I was doing publicly."
It's therapy. Do you still find it's therapeutic, or more so now you're just enjoying that you can go there?
Yeah, so I would say, I think early on, I think there was some kind of like therapeutic nature to it.
Yeah.
Like, I do think early on it was just kind of like mental space wise, I usually wouldn't go into like true memories, like a lot of that Strasberg technique of like really pulling up your emotional trauma. Like, I had just been through enough therapy to know like that was unsustainable. Like, I'm gonna leave that in the box.
Yeah.
But usually I think kind of going to that place would kind of pull some of that stuff up. What I found, kind of the longer out from trauma I was and the more like healed I was, it lives in my body. Like, it's just in there. So like, I can kind of just go like panic and my body will start to feel that. So I actually don't really have to like pull out a lot. So usually I'll kind of like keep it to thoughts, feelings, triggers, or things that are centered to the character, and then just kind of trust that like it's in the body.
Because those things have been recorded in you, and you basically just have to hit that button to activate that thing.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it's kind of cool this long out, because now it's like a substantial chunk of time out from when it happened. So it is kind of cool to see how I can kind of maneuver with some of that stuff safely in a way that doesn't harm me, and then does feel kind of cathartic.
I want to talk about, because it is I believe Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is. So it's one of the reasons I wanted you on specifically this month, because we did this movie Shatteredice. Which, do you want to tell people what tell people what Shatteredice is?
It's a fabulous movie starring Ian Lyons.
I am a small part of it, as you are a much bigger part.
No, I think kind of equal. But anyway, it's just a really, really beautiful story. It's about this community kind of reeling after one of the hockey teammates commits suicide. And so his best friend is kind of left in shock and trauma by that, and trying to figure out how does life move forward after just devastating loss.
Yeah.
And the kind of community around that person, just feeling it and being at that loss of everything is different. What do we do now?
Living in the wake of this sudden, So what is the character that you played? I know, but they don't.
So I play so the coach of the hockey team. I'm a
there he is.
Girlfriend. Oh yeah, there he is. I'm a former girlfriend, current love interest.
And what is your character's name?
Her name is Judy Susie.
Judy Susie. That's a good name.
I know.
Oh yeah, on that set, your co-star, the coach, he injured himself, which kind of changed you tell this. I'm kind of throwing this all over the place, but please tell this part of the story.
It's so funny. The story just kind of came up earlier today because we were talking about pickleball injuries. But on his day off, I think he had been playing I want to say pickleball, and then was just doing sprints at the gym and just snapped his Achilles.
And this is about partially a few days into the shoot.
I think we were like a solid week into the shoot. So like everything, it was enough that everything was established. And like, but then also like, I mean, poor guy. Like
Jackfalahee, is that?
Yes, was from LA. So like I mean, no one wants to snap their Achilles and then have to have an emergency surgery and be in a cast, but like to be on the other side of the country away from home, away from your own bed, that's just like the thing of nightmares.
And where the surfaces are not very smooth for his little like roller scooter he had to use after that.
Yeah, so poor guy is then trying to film around this I think he still the next day then was just kind of like trying to film it. They got him a little scooter. I think he ended up having a surgery a few days later.
But he had a connection because I think his dad is a surgeon or something.
Thank
but
God.
you had to accommodate your acting around that as well. Of course, that's what we would do. But
yeah,
did that present some challenges?
You know, I think that is the thing that I will forever love about filmmaking, and particularly indie filmmaking, is that it's just like as Audrey, who was your previous guest, said, everything is on fire all the time. Mm-hmm. And the creative collaboration of people trying to figure out how do we put out this fire and make something work is just...
Because you have some romantic scenes, which I imagine were challenging given his...
Yes, I think in the script there was a romantic scene where he was supposed to pick her up and we were all like, well, that's clearly not going to work.
He's also driving. I believe there's driving scenes too.
Yes.
Wow.
So we were parked.
Is it always played off screen too? Do you never see it? Do we know he's injured?
I don't think so. I believe they tried to shoot around it as much as possible. Wow. I still haven't seen it, so I don't know. The last scene we filmed was supposed to be us like walking in, like, so I think we were doing it, but you can definitely see the scooter in the wide. So I'm really curious to see how they got around.
We can maybe do like one of those Spike Lee things where they just kind of move smoothly, you know. And did you get on the scooter with him?
Oh, I should have, but
you should have.
I should have taken it.
Sorry, Jake and Alex, I wasn't there to give you the idea. But what did this require? Some emotional acting from you again, though.
Yeah.
Because I did when I was preparing for, I have this big scene, as you know, and I went when, rehearsing at home, I went to one of those places because I haven't had a lot of trauma, but I went to a place of imagining, and I felt like it kind of broke me. And I was like, the next few days, it took me a couple of days to recover. It was before I shot the scene. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to me again. That did not feel good. It felt very unhealthy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's kind of different schools of thought when it comes to acting and like how to access those emotions. And like, there was like a younger high school me that would be like, make it real. Like, she was a lot, but like, and then it was real.
Sure she was cool.
Huh?
I'm sure she was so cool.
She certainly thought she was.
Okay.
But yeah. And so I think there are ways to protect yourself. And I'm also really big at like kind of learning how to go there, but then pull myself out. And I think there is, well, there's kind of like that like method actor feeling, like idea of like, I stay in the character. I live as the character constantly. And I just don't really think that's conducive to film.
Yeah.
Because just, I think that's a wonderful technique for theater where you're going all the way through it and then you're done. And then you can be like, and resolution, let's move on. But when you're just kind of like in this moment, especially a traumatic moment, and just like grinding all day, it
can't be good.
Yeah. I think it's a lot. And so I think for me, like I use music a lot. Like I'll use playlists to kind of help get me in the zone.
Sure.
But then I think it's also really important. Like I'll use music to kind of help not lift me out of it. I try to think of it as more kind of like a liminal space in between like the depression or the trauma or the huge emotions, and kind of like a neutral space where I'm kind of like not up here, but I'm not way down here.
And it kind of primes you to perform. You're just
so I'm not like too far out of where I need to go, but I'm just kind of existing safely in like a neutral space, and then I can dip back down into it.
But not necessarily planned either. You're more kind of more spontaneous and kind of feel the okay. Yeah, it's tricky stuff. So do you enjoy more doing the emotional stuff, or do you, because you've done also a lot of comedy too?
I love both.
Okay.
I love both. I love characters. Like I feel like that's the just a really interesting person. And I feel like a lot of the characters that I've played either somehow kind of resonate with something in my life or something that I aspire to be, or so there's usually some kind of like, I feel better for having connected with them.
I can't wait to see your work in Peppermint Twist, where you're like a Fargo-esque. I think I can give that away.
I think that's like, that's the thing that I love about indies too, because it's things I would never get to play.
No, exactly. There's so much freedom in doing indies. You're right. Like we get, and of course we're grateful for any work we get, but we get kind of cornered. Casting sees us a certain way. I'm always the guy in a suit. Again, grateful for the work. What is how do they always see you? What is there a thing that you're like, oh, they always want me to be the, or are you not pigeonholed as much as I am?
I certainly am not like in a suit as much as you are, like, or like either in a literal suit or in a metaphorical suit.
Okay.
I don't know that I'm necessarily specifically pigeonholed, but it does seem like Dick Wolf and Stephen King are just kind of like, will rehire me all day long, but that's about it.
I wanted to talk about that too, because there is an office, a casting office that keeps on bringing you back, has hired you quite a few times. How do you think that happened, and what is the value in that?
Honestly, like I hear people say that of like, like one office can make a career. And I honestly think Jonathan Strauss's office, who's the people who have cast me in multiple Dick Wolf shows, honestly, they are a huge reason that I've stayed in the game and not given up. It's because I feel like every 3 years when I'm just at a breaking point, I become re-eligible to audition for their stuff again.
That's true, because you can only do it every,
yes.
Even if it's, but only on one specific, like you could do an FBI, but not a Law and Order, or how's that work?
I think the shows, I think it's Law and Order, FBI, like I think within the Law and Order world and then within the FBI world.
Okay. Oh, because they are sort of the same world?
No, I think, because I think between the FBI shows, like the characters will come in and out, like not the guest stars and the co-stars, but like the series regulars, like I think will be like detective whoever from FBI regular is now showing up for an episode on FBI Most Wanted.
And why wouldn't they do that? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of within the same world, and kind of same thing with the Law and Orders. I think it has crossed over into Chicago Med, but I don't know that.
Are they still? They don't do Chicago Med anymore, though, do they? I don't think they do.
Maybe did PD a little longer than they did the other ones, but
okay. I don't. Yeah, because they have. I mean, as the business is not doing amazingly well, they really have been the only thing continuously going through all of this. So thank goodness they keep on bringing you in. I've lucked out a couple of times with those guys, not as much as you, but I want to go to, let's do your first one. Let's show people your SVU.
8 years ago, film festival, he saw my short and he swooped in on me. Said he saw a great future for me, major films, awards. Take your time. He got kind of grabby. I left, went up to my room. Turns out his room happened to adjoin mine. He came in this silk robe and he wouldn't take no for an answer.
And you still audition for him?
I've seen actresses so traumatized by him, they leave the business.
Have you had I mean, not to go, but have you had creepy casting situations?
Not casting situations. I would say it's more filmmaker situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not had that. I'm grateful I haven't, and I'm sorry that you've had to.
If it happens, you tell me, and I will slap them for you.
Will you thank you. God, I hope it happens. Just
I will drive however
them.
far I need to, get out of my car, slap them, and say that was for Ian.
You. And that's a long drive. You're coming up from New York, right? Whew, thank you for protecting me. So then did you have to wait for 3 years to get your next opportunity with them?
Yeah, like on the dot, yeah.
But was that because then you had FBI Most Wanted?
Yeah, I think FBI Most Wanted was kind of just before, like that was like it was within the 3-year window.
But what do you think it is about you? Why do you think they keep on calling you in?
They see that I resonate with trauma.
No.
You know, I hear a lot of actors complain about procedurals. I love them. Like, yeah. I like, not necessarily as something that I sit down and watch all the time, but I love them as an actor because it's like you are kind of doing the legwork of the story. You're like telling the like, here's who you're after. Like in that scene, you're like, hey, this guy's the bad guy. I had this experience with him. I really hope you get him. Like
moving it along.
Yeah. Like there's this other person you should talk to. Like I'm out of the jurisdiction, but you should talk to her.
And then they go there. Yeah.
But it's just like they're giving you a lot of story and things to connect to. And so I just really like it's rife with like images and like life that you just kind of have to like, at least for me, I feel like it's just about picturing it, making that a real lived story in my body, and then just saying the words. And I find it really fun. And I think just a lot of people are like, oh, it's boring.
I mean, I don't watch them myself, but I know a lot of people do. I know for you, these are going to be residuals until, you know, for your great grandchildren. So yay. But these characters are, like you said, they're very important to these stories. And I think it goes to the name of the show, No Small Roles. And not to say these are small roles, but these shows, their main characters could not exist or live in this world without these characters that move it along.
Yeah.
Which is that's kind of cool that you get to do that. So let's play FBI Most Wanted.
We lost touch back in 2008.
You can feel the weight of the history of this character. It just feels so real. And that's what you always bring. And that when I'm like helping you with self-tapes, I'm like, man. And I want to talk about for a second about your self-taping. You prepare in advance. You get to know your lines. And when I tape with you, you do it in 1 or 2 takes. It's super fast. What is your theory on that? I know you've done a lot of training and you've gotten a bunch of people's opinions on this, but what's it?
Yeah, I feel like when the pandemic hit and then everything switched over to self-tape, it just became like, I think I was in the sea of actor people who were like, it has to be perfect. And so I would do a ton of takes and then I would be finished and be like, I have no fucking clue which one to pick. They're all exactly the same. Well, and that's the thing. Even the ones where I was trying something really different I'm like, they're either picking me or they're not. Like,
yeah.
Like if they're only watching 10 seconds in to be like, no, we don't want a blonde.
Which I'm sure it happens, not necessarily to you, but I'm sure it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, 2 seconds in after all that time you spent.
And it helped me be less precious with the audition afterwards, because I found that to be true too. I was like, I can't if I'm doing it over and over and over, I get really emotionally attached to it, and it's too hard for me to just be like, let that one go.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that helps me just kind of play with it, kind of honor the chance, have fun with it, but I'm not like, but I cried for 3 hours. Like, so I feel like it just kind of helps me. And then also I was really inspired. I had heard a couple different casting directors essentially say, like, don't iron the life out of it. Like, we want that kind of spontaneous thing.
They can tell.
And you know, it was actually this one, like that particular FBI one.
Yeah.
I am so glad. I think I sent in the first take. I think we only did like 1 or 2. I sent in the first take, and I'm so glad because on set, they were filming like a whole stunt scene like outside. It was like the big climax of the episode.
Yeah.
They had horrible weather. It was like icy cold. The wind was really bad. So they were like hours behind. And everyone was stressed out. Like it had just turned into a much longer, more miserable day. And so we went to film that. They did 1 take of kind of like my medium. They did 1 take of a close-up, and they did 2 takes of us walking inside. And I'm so glad because I didn't need, I knew I could just do it.
That's why they keep calling you back.
I will say, I'm really proud of this. The cinematographer came up to me afterwards, and he just touched my arm and he was like, "Thank you."
Oh, we all get to go home and see our families for 3 hours. Thank you.
Yeah. So like, I feel like that was a really, like, that was the time where I'm so glad that was my prep for it, because I just kind of felt like, that's what I did on the tape. So
yeah. I've made that mistake too, where I didn't do what I did on the tape, and that they hired you for a reason from that tape, and then you go to set and you do something else. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I change it? Because it clearly was a wrong choice, but whatever. So listen to Anna, everyone.
Well, I mean, it's hard because sometimes you get there, right? And you're like just in a completely different space than what you were imagining. So you're like, oh, I guess I'm a very different kind of person. Like,
I remember I arrived on set and this director said to me, he's like, "Oh, you know, your character, he has a very shady past. He killed a lot of people like this guy did." I'm like, "Oh, really?" But my audition, I played like cocky and laid back. And then once he told me that, I'm like, he must be telling me that for a reason. So I made him much darker, which was such a wrong choice. I'm like, why? So in retrospect, do what you did in the tape.
Were you stabbing people in the episode?
With my eyes. And then during the scene when he's directing me, he's like, try to be less. He wasn't using his words, and we were shooting at 2 a.m. He's like, be less this. I'm like, what?
The finger guns.
What is this? What am I doing? But it was 2 a.m. I'm like,
stabbing with his hands or shooting with his hands.
I don't like, I mean, am I doing this? Because I don't know. Whatever. But yeah. So listen to Anna. But weren't you in your trailer for several hours though before you got called to set to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you doing in that time? Like, were you reading? Do you nap?
I did. I had a book with me. I usually bring a book because I feel like that's a nice way to like just kind of, again, just to exist in that liminal space where I'm not getting too up or too low or like.
That's hard.
Yeah. Honestly, I will say it was the first time I had triple banger as a trailer. So I was perfectly content to chill out there.
Oh, that's great. Okay. You earned that.
I was like, ooh.
Are you running your lines when you're sitting there? Are you like repeating them? Are you like, whatever?
You know, I think like every now and then I might go through it just to touch them and just make sure they're like
there.
They're there if I need them, like if I reach to grab them, but not a ton. Like I'm lucky. I just happen to memorize pretty quickly.
That's good.
And I do a lot of work to like continually keep memorizing so it stays fresh.
That is one thing that I think you do more than anyone, because we're part of this actor group, which we mentioned before with Mike and Celeste and Jamie, who I've interviewed. And you are constantly keeping yourself busy. And that's sort of the idea of our group, but you really do it. You're constantly training. You'll be like, hey, Ian, can you just, do this scene with me? I'm like, oh, you have an audition? You're like, no, I just want to, work and do something and stay active. Do you, that's been valuable to you and probably helped keep you sane when things are slower.
Yes, I get grumpy if I don't do it. Like I'm
sure a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I get grumpy, and I think it was a big, like when I transitioned from doing kind of mostly indies into trying to really like, I became SAG and I started doing like film and television and really pursuing that. Yeah. Just the amount that I got to work was a lot less, and that was emotionally hard for me to kind of navigate that shift. And so I found just like self-taping for joy was really helpful for me, just because it was that kind of capacity and amount of work that I had been used to doing, that when I wasn't doing it, it was just making me really grumpy.
Yeah. Well, it can be soul sucking waiting around and knowing that you've got this thing to give and you do it well. But you did the self-tape May, the Audrey Helps Actors had suggested, and I think that helped both of us. But I salute you for continuing to owe his work even when you're not working.
Well, thank you for being my reader so
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for always being mine. You're so good.
Reading is so much fun because it's like it gives you a chance to act without like the pressure of an audition.
But you read a scene and immediately you know what it is, what it needs to be, and like you said, you kind of know how I work, so you know how to adjust to me, and it's just amazing. I can't say it enough. Anna's, if you need a reader, go to Anna. Here's her number. I won't provide
Here's
that.
her address and her social security number.
I'm not going to do that to you. I will do it.
I will.
Oh wait. Oh, you saw that. Okay.
Just ask Ian. He'll send it.
Now you went on from FBI, then you did another one of these shows, and I think I want to talk about expectation versus disappointment, and this is a really great opportunity. You did shoot it, and here it is. This is Law and Order.
Hey, sweetheart.
Rough day?
Yeah, this case I'm working. The Vic left behind a 16-year-old daughter. In fact, the student goes to Cromwell.
Really? It's terrible. Wonder if Lily knows her.
So that is Jeffrey Donovan, who played Detective Cosgrove, who was a series regular on the show for, I think, several years, right?
Yeah.
So you got hired to play his wife.
Yeah.
And I remember that was, I believe it was one scene audition. There's a few scenes in the actual show. That's the one I grabbed. But it was I remember being a very quick audition, and then you booked it.
Pretty quickly, yeah. Like, I was really surprised.
When you booked it, what did you think this was?
I mean, so the thing is, like, I had kind of been, and I think this is true of like most of the Law and Orders. Like there's like the one that I booked, but then there's like the series of ones that I've done up until then. So I had been doing like a bunch of, like, I had done multiple guest star auditions, and I felt like I was getting really close to a guest star, and I like, yeah. And like all the actor things were like, I did awesome work. And it was just like, I had sent in multiple tapes that were like packets. Like they were like 5 minutes of tape. And I was like, that's some of my best work ever. And then crickets. Just so.
It's part of the business, but that is torture.
And yeah, so I had been through a bunch of those. And then this was like, it was like less than a page scene for like the audition for this. I was like, all right, whatever. But I also just felt like I kind of got it. Like, I just felt like it read easily. So I was just like, all right, here's another one.
You weren't too precious about it, I remember.
I was just like, probably won't hear anything on this either.
And then did you find out you got pinned, and for those who don't know, pin means they kind of hold you aside and you're in consideration.
Yeah, I think I got like a Saturday morning email from my agent being like, hey, you're pinned for this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I think I want to say like either Sunday or like early Monday. I think it might have been, actually, it might have even been earlier. Like
turnaround is fast on these shows.
Yeah, because I was like, I think like the next day then in for like a wardrobe fitting.
Okay. And what did you, because you understood that the husband character was one of the series regulars.
Yeah.
Now I know us in the group, you're like, hey, I booked this thing. And we're like, oh my God, he's a series regular and you're his wife. Like, this is going to be recurring, or they're going to bring you back. They're building up his character. You're going to die or something. This is so exciting.
No, that was the intent. So I think the intent was certainly, I think they were trying, and when I was on set, they had said kind of that the writers were looking to kind of get into some of the series regulars, like personal lives a little more and build that up. I think, spoilers, he left the show.
Yeah, well, no, it was a couple of years ago. So
it was right before the strike. So this was kind of like right at the very end of it, right before the strike.
Yeah.
And then, so on the day we were filming one of these days, I just, I think it's, so Jeffrey Donovan, his wife and kids were, I want to say in Colorado, and he was commuting home to Colorado every single weekend to see them, and then flying back Sunday night to film. And so I think it went, and they were like, I think that was like episode, I want to say like it was like in the 20s. So they were very near, like, I think they had like a couple episodes before the end of the season. And I could tell he was just tired. Like we were filming like a giant kind of group scene with all of the characters in the courtrooms. It was a lot of coverage. It was a lot of doing the same scene over and over. And his wife and kids were in town. And his kid had been I think he said his 2-year-old had been up sick the night before.
Oh.
And all he wanted to do was just leave and go be with them.
Of course.
And like, I mean, because of course he would. And like, but then he's having to sit there and be coverage and be eye lines. And like, and I could just tell he was really done. He was very nice and like apologized a couple times and was like, I'm sorry. Just like, and so I think what happened is then we had the strike, and I'm sure he got to be at home. With
And it was a reboot for a lot of us, and we realized the importance of family and
good for him. So so unfortunately that was the end of Julia Cosgrove.
But how did you, because I remember in the group we're like, oh my God, this is huge. Like, who knows? There's no guarantees ever. But I feel like we got more amped up for it than you did. You were very grounded. You didn't share your excitement for what you thought it would be. This is actually the first time hearing you having thought it would have gone somewhere.
So they certainly, like, when they were doing the wardrobe, they were like, oh, and this can be a part of her capsule wardrobe. And like, oh, we'll save this for another episode.
I would have been like, ah.
Well, here's the thing. I've been cut from so many things. Or had like a kernel of what I shot show up in the thing.
That comes up all the time in the show, as you know. It's just, we all get cut. And it sucks. I absolutely was hopeful. There was certainly the part of me that was like, is this finally the thing? Is this finally the thing that gets me an audition? Yeah.
An audition with another office. And no, it wasn't.
Did someone reach out to you, or no? Probably not, because you shot the thing. There was no guarantee, and that was that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just, and honestly, like, I think also just because there had been a strike for so long and everything was so in flux, like,
yeah,
it was kind of just this like internal reset so much.
And sort of, well, also maybe you're like, I'm so used to disappointment in this business, so you kind of, like, you protected yourself for the grilled cheese question, you protected yourself for this kind of, hurt and disappointment.
Yes.
And again, it's just acting, but it is the thing that we're pursuing. It is the thing that we make money at sometimes.
And I think the thing that hurts is because it's like we as actors, like, being on a set, acting with other people, and like being like in community doing a scene, and then yes, you can get that in a class, or but then having like the crew people come in and like build this world around you where you're just like it's magical, and it's such a high, and it's like, and then the ability to be back there and do that is kind of like shrouded in this, like, but first you have to get through the audition with millions of people, and they're all and so it just feels sometimes like it's so hard to get back to it.
Yeah. And when you're in it, you're like, this is the thing, and you've got this community. And then I worked earlier this week, and then I realized yesterday, I'm like, man, all that build up to that thing, and I did the thing, and here I am. I'm like, all right, it's like it didn't happen, but that's how it goes.
It's like a manic depressive industry where it's like you're just kind of like neutral, and then all of a sudden you get an audition, you're like, maybe it'll change my life, and then you film the thing, you're like, I'm amazing, and then you're like, no, I'm sad, and no, I'm sad, I know I'll never work again, and now I'm sad.
But then you're excited the footage is going to come out, and then the thing comes out, and you're like,
I was
my back. Yeah.
Constantly cycling.
But this is like a part, again, back to the kind of mental health thing, and how do you, because obviously you were saying you've been through some major trauma in life, so you kind of can put things into perspective. But I know you said you get grumpy, and I kind of love what you do when you hit your peak of grumpiness. What do you do, Anna?
I mentally quit.
And you go places.
I do. I mentally quit and I travel.
It's amazing though. But you book out, you go see places. And I think that kind of puts things into perspective. Like, look at all these freaking stars, like, in the sky. What's this, this TV gig mean?
It really does. Like, I feel like it's, at least for me, it's really easy to get so obsessed and insular about like this thing, and this thing that is actually, when I look at my life and I look at like, you know, the sun is out, the grass is growing, the trees are starting to bloom again, like everything's fine, but I'm like, but these people out in the world aren't hiring me. Like it's really easy to spin up on that. And I find going to places that are so completely different than anything that I know. Like I remember when I went to Peru and just looking at like, I mean, kind of like the stunning poverty, but how happy people were. And it was really like, oh my, like, what is wrong with me? Then I need so much. Like I need to be on a set where people are making a magical fairy tale land for me and acting, working with a stunt. Like why do, like, it just, I mean, like, and it's not like, it's just like the ability to be present with your family.
Yeah.
And
it's everything.
It was really, I've had a lot of really big resets from that, which helped kind of ground me back down and just make me, I think make me question a lot of stuff that I can start thinking of as like the way the world is.
Yeah.
And then ground me back into like being grateful.
It's also helpful that you have a partner who gets the business, gets those disappointments, and trying to stay grounded and have each other. Because you are both the least actory actors that I know. You're both so talented, so committed and passionate about the business, but you're just real people. You would never know if I met you on the street that you're an actor. You're just so humble and quiet. And yeah, you're not a social media person.
So we've been together for a long time, and we've been through a lot of those cycles where like, I think both of us in our 20s were like we just wanted to eat the world. We were just like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to be actors.
Yeah.
and then you just accumulate so many heartbreaks of like the thing you thought was going to change something, and then no one cares.
Yeah. And then you're back to square one. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing of like you sent in a tape that was fucking awesome, and then crickets, nothing, just absolutely just like one tumbleweed. But
I know that it's not, and I think this is always something, because I get a lot of people even not getting opportunities, not getting auditions. It's not about you. It's just there's so many factors, and you are not one of them.
Yeah, I think for both of us, as we've kind of matured in the journey with it, and you've just seen all those ups and downs, you start realizing how powerless you are. But I don't mean that in a negative way. I actually mean it in like there's stuff you can spin up about and try to like control, but it's all like, honestly, like that FBI clip, like I did a good tape, but also the guy they cast as my brother was blonde. You know, like, I mean, I happened to look like his sister. And so, you know, like I can sit there and be like, oh, it was somehow me, but like also it was dumb luck.
Sure. But I'm sure that both of those came into play, but you never know exactly. Maybe you didn't get the job because you didn't have red hair, or you're an inch too short. Like, it's again, not about you. There's all these other factors. I like to filter these disappointments and everything and always put it in my head. Okay, I'm on my deathbed. Does it matter if I did that role on Dynasty or whatever? No, it doesn't. Like, it matters that I spent another day hanging out with my kids or cleaning the poo off the couch when my dog poops on it. No offense. So then she's smiling over there.
She's like, I got another one for you.
No, she's like, are you okay? Sorry.
She's like, stop telling them.
She looks really happy now. Oh, but yeah, you just have to filter it and ground yourself in what's important. And it doesn't matter. Like, these shows are going to come and go. The nice part is you'll do a job and 10 years later, you still get a residual check. So there's value in that. But then also for you, there's the indie world still, which you keep on going back to. Now, do you have a preference?
I guess comedy, because you did drama the last time.
Okay. Should I do it?
Was that the preference, or was it a different preference?
Oh, no, but that is one of the, but I also want to, no. Yeah, I'm going to play comedy. I'm going to do this one.
Okay.
It is.
It's not your fault.
Oh, it's not my fault.
Well, it's not just your fault.
Although I'm not quite sure why you would just assume that you could finish inside me.
Why I would just assume? Well, at no point when I was inside you did you tell me to put a condom on.
Okay, well, why wouldn't you just ask if I was on the pill?
Oh,
Tell us about that, Anna.
oh my God. Okay, that is to date one of my favorite projects of all time.
There's so much more to it too. I've seen so many good, funny clips in this.
I think it lives on YouTube somewhere, but it's on The Seventh Date. Chris Goodwin is he's a very talented actor. His writing is so good. Like, it's so funny. It's so heartfelt. And I just
That's
felt
not him in the scene, is it?
No, actually, yes, he's the pharmacist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think our pharmacist like last minute quit, so Chris stepped in. So he's a very dour pharmacist watching us have a fight. What was funny too is I think we were filming in a real pharmacy, and the guy was like, "Oh, this happens all the time."
Oh, like real. Oh, that's so funny. Like, this is real. I love how you guys are like quiet too. Like, it's still believable, but yet the situation's kind of funny.
We had a couple whisper fights in that, but it just the writing was so good. It was so funny and heartfelt, and that character Tara was just like, I feel like she had all of the like angst of my 20s and just like the wanting to like go and just grab what you want in the world. And yet she just had so much more balls than I did. And I just, I that was one of those roles where like, I needed to play it. I'm so proud of that. And sometimes when I sit there and I'm like, what have I even done with my life? I'm like, I'm really proud of that one.
Good. That's good. And that exists in that place. And you went on, there's another one called, what's it called? It's called The Wrong Todd, which I feel is
that's another one.
And that didn't that play on Showtime, or that was
it's bounced around to a lot of streamers. It was on Showtime for a while. It was on Paramount Plus when Showtime merged, and I think now it's on Amazon.
And that had it did the festival circuit, and it did really well, didn't it?
Yes, that was another one. And like, I think that's the other thing that I love about indies. Like a lot of times the only way they get made is by a creative who is just like, this is their baby. And so like on The Seventh Date was Chris Goodwin's, Rob Schulbaum was behind, like he wrote and directed The Wrong Todd. He just had such a good vision for it.
Yeah.
Like, and it just, it's so, he used to write for Family Guy, which is interesting. And I feel like I can feel some of the pacing in that world in there.
Yeah.
And like, it just feels like his thumbprints were all over it. And he just had such a love for that project that he assembled such an awesome team of people. And then it was really cool to see it just like find legs out in the world.
Before I play a clip, I want to ask you how, for example, because obviously, how do you find these jobs? How did you find The Wrong Todd? Or did it find you? How did that happen?
That one I think I saw an audition for.
On Actors Access, or how do you find your audition?
I can't, it was really long ago. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah.
And I think they might have had it in multiple places. Essentially, Rob used to live in LA, and they had shot like a short film, like concept version of it. It was just kind of like a short. And I saw the short and was like, this is hilarious and so well done. And so I auditioned for it, and like, I was one of those where I was like, I really wanted it, but I was like, anytime I really want something, I'm like, I'm never going to get this.
The ones we think we suck at or don't want are the ones we get.
It's always like, I can feel like when I'm clinging too much to it, I'm like, this isn't mine.
Yeah.
But then I think there was an in-person callback. And then luckily I got to be a part of it, because it was so much fun.
Let's show a little clip here.
In case anything happens, I need you to know that you were right. I'm sorry. I do have a fucking bullshit-resistant attitude.
I shouldn't have pushed you.
Of course I want to go with you. Of course I do.
This is something we should have decided.
I needed to realize how important it was to you. And honestly, until I saw what the world would be like without...
Todd, I love you too, but I need you to shut up right now, because I think something happened to Dave.
I love a whisper fight.
You're so good at whisper fights. If you're ever whispering at me, I'll be like, okay, Anna. Okay, so again, this still exists in the world too, so you should be very proud of that. And again, there's so many other scenes, and it's hard to pick your stuff because there's so much.
It's just, this one was so, it's so poignant, but it's also hilarious, which I love.
I'm starting to keep you forever, and I apologize. I didn't. This conversation is going so fast.
I'm yakking too much.
No, not at all. I'm like, how is it even this? It's been an hour. What? It's because my dog. That scent. You know.
And the scent is permeating your brain, and transmitting through the computer.
So this is the question: if you're holding, okay, mainstream studio projects in one hand, indies in the other, and you're like, oh, these are both so heavy, and I'm going to drop them both over the side of the cliff, but I can only save one. Which one do you save? Casting, turn off your cameras and your TVs.
So here's what I
have to make the choice.
So
no, say it. Continue. I'm sorry.
So what I kind of realized, like I was doing a lot of indies, and I realized that I was hitting kind of the ceiling of what was capable without being quote unquote a name. Okay. And I feel like the indies that I'm like, like I just like, I will die a happy woman if I am in a film that premieres at Sundance or like one of those kind of film festivals. Like I just,
but when that happens, because I know it will happen, please don't die.
Yeah, I won't drop dead there because that will be very traumatic for everyone.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be like Shattered Ice, but without.
Yeah, I won't drop dead. I'll stay very healthy up until then.
And beyond. I'm sorry, go on.
But I realized that it was just that in order to kind of get to that like next echelon of what was available,
yeah,
I needed to have more of a name and more of a like, oh, she's someone we can get funding with. And so I started really trying to attack film and TV, and it's been going slow.
Yeah, but again, for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, no matter what level, it's sucking for most people.
Yeah. So I think the thing that I'm just like, because I think they're also kind of, the worlds are kind of like merging a little bit, where there's still going to be like the studio's Avengers, like the remake of something that costs like $3 million. And that what used to be the world of like the $2 million movie is now kind of like merging with indies.
Shattered Ice was a decent size indie.
Yeah. And so like, I think that's kind of what I want to tell really good stories.
Yeah.
And I want to get to play characters that feel like they're challenging and pull something out of me. And I feel like I've found that most on indie sets.
I think I've said on the show before, I've discovered indie sets are amazing. The stuff that you get to do, you get to explore and experiment. And I do recommend for people who are coming up in the business, even if it's unpaid. I know people are like, oh, so it's credit and a bottle of water. I think that can be valuable.
Yeah.
Who cares it's about footage and experience, getting in front of the camera.
Yes. And I would say for like young women and also guys entering, like, do it with safety. Like,
oh yes.
Like don't like just kind of like eyes open and stay safe. But yes, like do it just to get to like flex the muscles you don't get to flex. And then, also the camaraderie, like just like a lot of times on a major set, you're kind of like coming in and you're like, again, you're walking into a well-oiled machine and you're like, hey, nice to meet you. Bye.
It's a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
That's not your family.
You're like, hey, you guys are really close. It's nice to meet you all. Goodbye. Like,
yeah. Like, okay, yeah, you.
And I think the thing about indies, because again, like it's just like everything's on fire and you're just trying to put out the fires. And so the camaraderie you build with people from that, it's so cool. And
everyone is there for the right reason, because no one's making a whole lot of money. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
But it can be about the footage, and that's okay. But like you said, because a lot of these opportunities you're pursuing or have pursued, and some come through agents, but you do have to be careful. Do your research, your due diligence. Are these real directors? Does it seem they've worked with decent people? They've got a good team, and you're not going to get yourself in creepy situations. Go with a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, because you also have gotten into, you've done a lot of fights. You do a lot of scenes where there's like men beating you up.
Again, it's in the context of my life. My family's always like, "Do you have to do like we don't want to watch this."
It seems like I'm going to play a slight montage, not very well edited montage I made of some of your fighting.
Go for it.
It's a trimmed down version of your fighting montage, but let's just see so people see.
Violence.
It's so violent. It feels it's really creepy to watch, but you do get your revenge on most of these guys. Is this all rehearsed? Have you?
Yes, and this is interesting. Those are two very different projects, multiple years apart, and both of them, the fight choreographer is Anthony Wong.
Oh, he's a great guy. Okay,
is awesome. And
he did Shattered Ice.
He did do Shattered Ice. Yeah, you should have him on your show.
That's a good idea. I will.
But yeah, I really appreciate working with him. He choreographed both of those. They were both really long, intense fight scenes. And so we did kind of like for each one, we did like a rehearsal day ahead of time where we did it kind of on mats, and then did it on the day while we filmed it.
But there's got to be some pain still.
There is, like, yeah, there is. The one we filmed in the arcade, we were like, I was rolling on like that was in my non-union days.
Okay.
I was like rolling on concrete. I had the gnarliest bruise on my back.
Were you, but in some sort of respect, were you like, oh man, that's like a good war wound?
Yeah, it was.
Like, oh, that was fun.
I was.
But as long as you're protected and you have someone like Anthony to make sure that it's choreographed and that you're okay, everyone's communicated, no one's being hit in the ear or.
Yes, no, he was really great. I felt very protected with him, and I felt very like he did a really great job of, he had in mind the scene that he wanted to do. I think I want to say both times, certainly with Keeper, he had like filmed like a rough one with his stunt crew just so we could see it too. So that was great to like kind of have like a visual and then also get to try it out in case you had like different ways of learning.
That's great.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate working with him.
Yeah, he's great, and he lights himself on fire.
He does, and lives.
And lives. Thank goodness. As you will too. When you go to Sundance, you'll continue to live.
I will.
I'm gonna think about wrapping up, but talking about, so you did these violent scenes. There's another opportunity I remember coming in, and women are put in these situations often where we've got a scene for you with this role. Yeah, there's some sexual situations that, maybe you're uncomfortable with, but look at this opportunity. You got one for the show City on a Hill. If you don't mind talking about it, could you tell us?
It's my kiss and tell.
Oh, that is should we go into okay, so Anna, what is your kiss and tell? Wait, let me play the picture. So you said tampon. Yes. Oh, that's right. I think I remember. Okay, go on.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a good story. So this was 2017.
I can't believe it's been that long. Jeez. Okay.
Isn't that nuts? I do the math sometimes. Something about COVID just like crushed time for me. So I'm like, what? Yeah. So when I think about things pre-COVID, I'm like, that was that long ago.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So back to the tampon.
Back to the tampon. So I got this audition from CP Casting. Carolyn Pickman, who has cast so many actors. I think she's just such a huge actor.
Including Owen in The Town.
Including that.
Life changer. Yeah.
So she was casting this one. Owen had actually already auditioned for it and had already
That's right. He's in it.
Yeah. So he had already booked the role he had auditioned for. Okay. And I got this role that I think it said like Everett Girl or something like that. It's like for people who are not Massachusetts based, Everett is like a town right outside of Boston. Mm-hmm. And so it was clearly dummy sides because there was no like number at the top of the page.
Yeah.
And so again, for people who don't know, it means it's like not real. It's not really from the script. They kind of wrote a scene for you to audition with. And so I read the scene. I was like, cool. Like, I know what to do with this. Like, I know this girl.
Yeah.
I've met this girl. Like, awesome.
In Everett.
In Everett. And so I just kind of like, for fun, I was like, do you have this? I asked Owen, I was like, do you have the script? And so he sent me the script and I was reading it and I get all the way to the end and I'm like, I don't see this character. And then it dawned on me a couple pages before, there was this scene with a character called Skank. And like in the scene, and like, so in the scene, she's kind of like making out with one of the characters who's clearly on a bender. And then they say they're like in a bar, they're kind of flirting. Then it cuts to them in a bathroom stall and they're making out. And then it says he reaches his hand up her skirt, pulls out a bloody tampon and tosses it aside.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm like, this has to be the role. No. Because in the Everett girl scene, they like, it was kind of a guy and a girl and they were flirting and it was kind of a little bit of that energy. So I was like, oh. So I'm like, and so immediately I'm like, because again, that kind of manic cycle, you're like, I have an audition, it's going to be amazing. And then I'm like, oh no, I can't take this.
So that was the initial point. Like, okay, yeah, no, this isn't.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'm like, oh, I can't. I was like, I can't.
Of course, I get it.
And like, and the thing is, like, I don't mean that like in like a judge. Because here's the thing, like, I get story wise what they were doing. Like, essentially, the show is there has this robbery that has gone on, and there's two brothers involved, and one of them is very serious. You know, it's actually like based on a real robbery that was, I think, quite traumatic for the people of that town because like they killed actual workers there.
Didn't Owen get shot in that robbery?
Not in the robbery. He was a cop in that one, but
sorry. Continue.
He did get shot. Yeah. So essentially they've done this robbery. It was kind of this like really bad crime, turned out worse than it was supposed to be, but they might get away with it. And then we see the younger brother is like getting drunk and losing it. And and clearly like he's a wild card that's off the hinge. So what we're setting up for the series is like their ability to get away from it is hinged on this guy who's out of control. And so I get what they're doing. And so they're trying to make it like, oh, like he's out of control. He's totally wild. But I just felt like for me, with the kind of particular trauma that I had, I was like, I can't being degraded sexually is too, like, that's too close to home. And I'm like, there's someone else that can do this. It just touches something where I'm like, I can't show up on set that day and give you what you need because it's gonna trigger things in me that are just
not healthy.
Yeah. And aren't the story.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, luckily I was able to feel my feelings, like have it out. And then, and I kind of just settled on like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a good audition because this is about an ongoing relationship with CP casting. They didn't tell us what was in there. So, and they don't know that I know. So I'll pass.
And Owen may have signed an NDA.
But I was also like, the odds of me getting this are like, so. Yeah. So
with most auditions, that's just how it is. Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'm just going to go in, do a good audition. Something else will come my way. So then the next day I went into audition and Carolyn called all of the girls auditioning out and said, hey, so just, and she kind of explained everything that was in the scene. And I was like, thank God I knew beforehand. Because if I had found out then and then tried to go into the audition, I would have been like shaky and like, oh my God. And so but because I knew it was coming, I could do it. I was just like, well, I'm not taking it. So, so I just went in, I did the audition. And then a couple days later, I had a missed call from Carolyn. I was like, oh no.
Of course.
Oh no. No.
Oh man.
Yeah, but no. So I called her back and I was like, I can't. I was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I can't do it. And
she's awesome.
Yeah, and she was very nice, but she was also kind of like, well, but like, what if they changed the name of the character? And I was like, it's not really about the name of the character. Like,
the
and
acting.
I just, yeah. So it's kind of like, I really appreciate it. I just can't do it. And I didn't like, it was one of those, I have to be a little careful, especially like then it was like, there were times where like I would talk about it, and sometimes if I feel like I'm like I didn't want to be like, I can't do it because of trauma.
Yeah,
I was like, I'll start crying on the phone. I don't want to do it.
yeah.
And so yeah, so I was just like, so we kind of left it there, and then they kept coming back, and they were like, we changed the name from Skank to Heartbreaker, and I was like, appreciate it, but it's
Not
still
about the
Grandma.
name. Oh man.
And so then they finally they called and they circled back, and Carolyn was like, they took the whole thing out. And I was like, oh, so they cut the whole role.
Oh,
And then it turned out, no, they didn't cut the whole role. They just cut the tampon scene. So I was like, okay, cool. I can do that.
yes, it's a makeout scene. Do you mind if we show it?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where most everything was cut. So go for it.
But it's a principal role in this big show, which is Showtime, I think, again, right?
And it was a blast on set. Like, I have to say, like, and so the reason I said it was 2017 is just kind of for context. This was literally like, I think like a month after Me Too. So
oh wow.
I really think that a lot of this was kind of suddenly there was this new sensitivity.
So do you think
like in the zeitgeist of like, oh, like, so I think all of a sudden, like, they were kind of like, oh yeah, let's hear you. And then everyone on set was so nice about communicating with me, and like, you know, and I don't think intimacy coordinators were really like a thing yet, but like,
crazy, it's not that long ago to think how much things have changed since then.
yeah, but everyone was super, like, the director was really like, hey, I want you to be comfortable, and was really awesome about checking in with me.
Yeah.
The other actor was really great about like, hey, what are you cool with? What, you know, what, like, but it was so nice to be communicated with really clearly. It was also, you know, it was a silly thing. Like, I was so focused on the tampon thing, but just something like, all right, calling Skank to set would have been,
I'm here.
would have been funny the first time, but after a long day, probably would have started, and like the long day, and then the jokes, and then probably would have started to kind of just like,
yeah.
So I'm so appreciative of how responsive everyone was, and then it was a blast. Like, we filmed like a whole scene like in a bar. Michael Cuesta, the director, was in the band in the scene.
Oh, that's
playing
cool.
his bass, and like the character Jimmy gets up on the stage and starts singing with the band and does the whole thing, and we're dancing and all the extra. It was just this really like free flowing, like everyone was improvising, and so like, you know, he got off the stage and danced with me, and we were going back and forth. My boyfriend was getting upset. It was such a fun day of play. And then we shot the bathroom scene, and so I think we had just been like improvising and playing, so everyone felt comfortable. And then everyone was just really lovely and really respectful. So it was one of those where it was a story of like, but turned out really nice.
It also says something about you, because there's a billion people that would take the role without even questioning it. Not to say that people, you know, but people want to they'll do anything to be in a movie or TV show or something.
Well, I think the other thing that's like important to like contextualize for the time, because I feel like it's a little easy to be like, oh, gross, but like Shameless was on like the same network, Showtime, which was like it was such a good show, but it was all about shock value. It was all about like gross, and we're going there. And so like, again, it was the same network. I want to say like Orange is the New Black had some sort of tampon, like so it was we were kind of in a time of TV where it was really kind of like edgy and trying to be like real with shock and
trying to one up each other.
Yeah. And so it wasn't really like this moral standpoint of like, oh, that's gross, how dare you? It was more just like, I know that if I'm going to be on set all day doing that, I'm going to be really triggered.
It's going to be unhealthy.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's amazing they kept on coming back to you, because it really showed them something that maybe they weren't seeing in other people. Not to say it was about those other actors, but it says a lot about you. I'm going to show it. I think it's really well done. It is. Here we go. I'm glad it's not, it's pretty tame. I think that's trimmed down as well.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so much of the scene got cut. And
that happens.
The director even cut himself out playing bass. So
I'm sure he's gotten over it. But that's just such an important note, because I want to go into the part before I keep you until tomorrow where we talk about maybe some advice you have. But I think that alone, advocating for yourself, not putting yourself in a situation that you think is going to be unhealthy for you, I think it's so important. And I applaud you for doing that, because it's not always easy when these opportunities can be very few and far between. And some people might be like, I don't want to say no to a job because maybe I'm going to tick off casting, and casting won't want to work with me again and give me an opportunity. But that's not the case.
Yeah. And honestly, this was, and what I appreciate about your show, because I think it's so easy to like watch a movie or watch a show, and like these roles, you almost don't even see them because they're just part of the world.
Yeah.
But so much goes into them.
They're not small.
Yeah. And so it's so easy as an actor to feel like, oh, no one cares. Like, no, I just have to shut up and like, sorry, thank you for being here. Like, and so it was a really meaningful experience for me about just people honoring that and honoring me. So I'm so grateful to Carolyn, and I'm so grateful to all of the people on the production for doing that.
And they valued you as a colleague and a coworker and a talented person, and they knew you could bring the reality.
Yeah. So
moving on from that, do you have any advice that you wish you had known coming up as an actor, or anything you'd want to say to someone, that's trying to make it in the business? Anything. I know. Honestly. Do something else. Strap in.
No, I mean, I guess it's so easy to kind of put people on pedestals, or kind of feel, I think we as humans like hierarchy a little bit. Like, it's just kind of maybe built into us from like high school.
Tell me what to do.
Like, yeah. Like, you're like, oh, there's the popular people over there, or like, those people over there have it figured out. And so I think that's just kind of like innately in us. And it's really easy to project that into the industry of like, oh, like the casting director and what do they want? Or like the director and what did they, and kind of giving away your power in the midst of that. And I think sometimes just recognizing that it's just flawed humans working with other flawed humans trying to be a thing.
There's nothing more special or anything. They're doing a job, and they want you to do a good job. And they just want people to work together, right? And
yes. And I think the times that I've lost myself is the times when I have kind of thought that someone outside of me had more power or more say-so than I gave credit for myself. And I think the times where I've been most proud of something that I did creatively was when I was kind of coming to the table feeling like what I had to say was a really valuable contribution and part of what was happening.
Anyone would be lucky to have you on their set with the amount of work and the training that you have.
That's how I feel about you.
Oh, stop. You're too nice. It's only because of the self-tapes you helped me with. And so,
anytime.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm not going to let you go yet. I just want to ask you most cherished moment on a set and dream opportunity. And you had 30 seconds to answer.
I don't know if I could pick one cherished moment on a set, because there's been so many. I would say kind of like on some date, The Wrong Todd, Keeper, and Shatteredice, I think were kind of my like just favorite projects of like
sinking yourself into.
I can't even pick those because there's so many other good ones.
Sorry, other ones. She doesn't love you as much. She just dropped you over the cliff with the procedurals. Sorry.
I let everyone down.
Everyone still loves you. We're not going to let anyone down. No, but that's fair. That you take something away from each opportunity and you value all those opportunities.
And I think, to be fair with those ones, I feel like those were ones where I was really able to like there was just characters that I loved so much, and just they were the ones that were like hardest to let go.
And you get to really do something that is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. Only something that you could do. Now, a dream opportunity.
Like I said, I really want to do an indie that goes to like Sundance or something. And also I keep feeling like I want to play a soldier suffering from PTSD at some point.
Ooh, you've auditioned for soldiery type. I feel like I've seen you as a soldier.
That's kind of like a dream I have in my back pocket, because I remember while I was kind of going through all of that, and I had PTSD. Yeah. I remember like it was still like, now it's everyone's really familiar with it, but it was the kind of thing, it was like, oh, that's what war veterans have. And I was like, oh, I think they called it rape trauma syndrome at the time.
God. I'm glad you can laugh about it. Yeah, I just go, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and I remember watching a movie about soldiers with PTSD and being like,
yeah.
my brethren.
Is that it? Have you found a scene from something like that to kind of play with, to kind of, in your self-tape May kind of time?
I haven't. That's a really good idea, because they were dudes, so I just haven't really worked on it. But I want a lady soldier suffering from PTSD. So,
or write yourself a scene, or someone make a movie. Yeah. Thank you, Anna Rizzo. Thank you for your time. Is there anything that you want to promote or talk about, or anything before I let you escape?
I guess I would say Shatteredice is screening at the Berklee International Film Festival at the end of this month, but it's sold out, so you can't go.
It's sold out before we could go.
We can't go.
But I plan to go with a glass and put it up to the wall and hear it. I can hear my scene. It's still in there.
I like the idea of us going like the dogs in the commercials with the Sarah McLachlan song, and be like, in the arms of and just
let's do it. We should do that. Everyone sees Shattered Ice. Anna's got a huge role in that.
Ian's got a huge role in that.
It's pretty good. I'm excited to see it.
Watch us act.
Yeah, watch us act.
Do it.
Yeah. But we know we have lives outside of it, and we will continue to travel and do exciting things, and know on our deathbeds, this is just acting. Don't take it too seriously, but enjoy it, and maybe get some residuals sometimes. Thank you, Anna Rizzo. I'm going to play the most amazing exit song. Let's see if I do this right. Do I have the song? Oh, wait, outro song. I'm going to choose it. I've screwed this up before. Wait, set as outro song. Okay. Anna, stick around for a second. Goodbye, everyone. Share, like, tell everyone to check out Anna on IMDb. She's got a bazillion things you got to check out. Like really, really beautiful work and amazing indies and the procedurals, which I respect. Okay. Thank you, Anna.